What's going on, YouTube? So in this video today, I'm going to talk about your true identity, and I'm going to touch on the ego a little bit too. So who are we? Who am I? Who are you? What is our true nature? These are the sort of questions that are going to lead you to the awakened state. Your true nature underlies your reality at all times. It is the limitless state which you feel natural in. This reality here of limitation and of suffering is a place of suffering primarily because we know ourselves as unlimited. So being here and having to die, being bound by gravity, having to play by the rules of this place, it's painful to us because we know deep down inside that we're capable of so much more. Your true nature never disappears in this place. It underlies your experience and pops up occasionally. Perhaps you've had moments in your life when you felt you were, I call it a flow state, when you were just on top of the world. You know, you were dancing and you just felt amazing, like you could do anything, and like you didn't care what people thought. You were playing as, a sport. You were playing in a game and you were just playing, not even thinking, just running through the defenders, just like playing at the top of your game. Just, these are some examples, but they're pointing to the larger theme, which is that these are all moments when you were being yourself. You were in what's called a flow state. And that is sort of like this unthinking state where you feel amazing and you do the right thing. Boom, boom, boom. You take right action automatically. Freestyle rappers are often in this flow state when they freestyle. Like, and the words just come to them. They're not sitting there thinking about it. It's just like boom, boom, boom. They just know what to do. And that's sort of how our true nature functions. And that's how we function when we're not in this reality. Then here it's a lot harder. It's near impossible to be like that all the time. Like, those moments are brief, and most of the time we find ourselves not quite in a flow state. And that's because most of the time we aren't really being ourselves. And okay, so what do I mean by that? Well, being authentic means being yourself. And you are yourself when you feel good in the moment. Simple as that. And let's say you're sitting in your room. You haven't had anything to eat in a while. Let's say, you've got no substances in your system. You're clear. You're just sitting there, not doing anything. And you feel good. You don't know why, but you do. You're just sitting there on your bed, and you feel good just being. That's when you're being yourself. Those moments are like signposts showing that, yes, you're being authentic. When you're not being yourself, it's quite a different feeling. You feel tense. The moment feels a little bit painful. You don't feel comfortable. It feels uncomfortable. Unfortunately, this is the reality that most of us tend to spend quite a bit of time in, and hence the availability of all these coping mechanisms which we have in society, such as drugs, television, distractions, work. All this stuff is to distract us from the baseline state of reality which we're currently in, which in the unawakened state, it's sort of like this dull kind of pain. It's not sharp, it's not like very painful, but it's just a sort of dull numbness with like a little bit of pain in the background. Okay? And it feels that way because we're disconnected from our true self. We're being inauthentic because we're living in limitation. And I'm not one to judge on why we came here, whether it was right or wrong. I think that question is well outside of, my scope of understanding. But what I can say is that, yes, it is possible. And in fact, it's inevitable now that you can move out from that state, let's call it, of a low-level numbness and pain. And this is no substances in your system, just sitting alone in your room, how you feel, to feeling good, light, free, joyful, all the time in the moment without any substances. This is the movement, emotional. This is what I was sort of talking about a couple videos ago, and how awakening feels, or like what it feels like. This is the emotional like transition, the emotional reality. And this is like a big hook, you know, to like really draw you along, because as you start to feel good in the moment more and more, that just, it propels you further and further, because you start to realize that first, happiness is something that is your very nature. It's readily available to you and you don't need to chase after it. And somewhat ironically, once you have this happiness in the moment, it becomes very easy to accomplish the goals that before might have been difficult, because you're coming from a place of fulfillment instead of a place of wanting and needing. That's the main difference. Life just flows so much more smoothly. It's not like you become happy in the moment and then you cease to have goals and activities in your life. It's just the opposite. Then you really want to start doing stuff because you want to spread this joy out there. You know, you want to create in the world, and you just want to do stuff in a new, amazing kind of way. But then back to how this ties into our true nature. So our true nature, it's not like an idea. That's really the main point I want to convey in this video, is that it's not like, you know, someone's got it written in a book somewhere. There's some formulation like A plus B equals C, you know, equals your true identity. It doesn't work like that. It's beyond concepts. In fact, concepts can only sort of reinforce this false idea-based identity, which is actually cutting us off from our true nature. And that's something I'll go into a little bit later. But it is not a conceptual understanding. Okay, so once you realize that, it's great because you can just sort of throw that whole pursuit out. And that really takes a lot of stress off the whole situation, because you're no longer trying to figure out who you are. It's not a matter of figuring out intellectually. It's more of a feeling realization. That's what I like to call it. Like, your true nature is something that you feel and you understand on that level. It isn't, like I was saying, a concept. So it's something that you feel in the moment. And you can feel it to different degrees. But it all comes down to feeling good in the moment. If you feel that just a little bit, then you're on the road to authenticity. And the road, to the best of my knowledge, never really ends. So the good feeling just can get better and better and better and better. And like you go to deeper and deeper levels of bliss and freedom. And my understanding is that that is the progression, or like the hierarchy in the universal structure, is that you ascend to higher levels of bliss and freedom and responsibility. But, you know, that's a whole nother video. But basically, that's also the road to authenticity. And what I really love about these concepts is that this is not some metaphysical jargon that doesn't hold water here. It's just the opposite. Awakening is a very real thing. It begins intellectually, but then as it progresses, it is a very emotional experience. And what I'm talking about here regarding authenticity and your true nature and feeling good in the moment, you can see all this for yourself as you wake up. And you're going to see all that. And this is going to be the primary indicator that you're making progress. You're going to go through emotional up and downs. Like there will be times when you feel really bad, and then you'll come back and you'll feel like amazing. And then it's going to be like that. So when you're cycling like that, sometimes it's hard to tell, well, am I going forward? Am I not? You know, where am I going? So it's best then to gauge your progress just by seeing how you feel in the moment when those emotional storms are over. What you're going to find if you're waking up is that you feel better and better and better, and you need less and less and less. I mean, you know, I don't want to go into too much detail on my life in this video, but let's say that I'm in a sort of circumstance now where I should be very stressed out, but I'm not at all. It's so unusually awesome. That's how I'll put it. And it's not like apathy. It's different. Apathy is sort of numb, like screw it. This is like joyful indifference. I think that's a good way of putting it. Something like that. But you'll see more and more what I mean as you wake up. But use that as an indicator to know that you're pressing forward and that you're becoming more and more of who you are.